The newest idols never arrive in stone. They arrive in vapor, in hymns disguised as slogans, in apparitions clothed as virtues. Elasticity, this spectral virtue of our age, was once a peripheral trait, an occasional necessity of survival, but now it reigns like a hidden emperor, demanding kneeling not through terror but through praise, not through chains but through the shimmering luster of resilience. Yet what calls itself resilience today is not the strength of standing firm against the storm, but the command to dissolve oneself into the storm, to abandon shape, to sacrifice essence, and to mutate ceaselessly at the whim of every gust. Elasticity has been enthroned as the god before whom no contour is sacred, no boundary inviolable. But let us pierce this veil. Elasticity is not liberation, but a cartographic sorcery, an endless redrawing of the body until the map erases itself. Once the body was fortress, its walls finite, its borders defended. Now the body is parchment, rewritten until the paper tears, a palimpsest of imperatives where nothing stable remains. The muscles have become the script of injunctions, tendons, the very grammar of compliance. To live today is not to inhabit flesh, but to inhabit drafts, rehearsals for a premiere that will never arrive. Here lies the devastating paradox. The more elastic the body becomes, the less it exists as a body. What is infinitely pliable is indistinguishable from nothing at all. A being demanded to be forever otherwise cannot be anything at all. Elasticity pursued to its limit collapses into disintegration. To stretch infinitely is not strength, but unraveling. And yet the age seduces with this very unraveling, branding it as transcendence. Become anything, it whispers, but never remain. What masquerades as freedom is nothing but erasure, the right to vanish in 1,000 shapes, none of which endure long enough to be called a self. This is no longer an ontology of being, but an ontology of vanishing, where the coordinates of selfhood dissolve into vectors of expectation, forever receding as soon as they are reached. The new tyranny is not that one is conquered, but that one is denied the right to territory altogether. A fortress can fall, but at least it was once a fortress. A body can revolt, but only if it once possessed ground to stand upon. What rebellion is possible when there is no ground, no contour, no fixedness left to betray? A body without boundaries cannot revolt. It can only dissipate. The command for infinite elasticity is thus the most cunning enslavement ever conceived. It abolishes even the possibility of revolt by abolishing the ground upon which revolt could stand. In this way arises what I call corporeal apophenia, delirium wherein every tremor of the body is interpreted as failure. Fatigue is no longer human. It is evidence of betrayal. Sleeplessness is no longer ordinary. It is a cartographic error. The flesh is condemned to read itself as insufficiency, its every pulse an omen of maladaptation. The body becomes not a sanctuary, but an error message, constantly rewritten to correct what was never wrong. What is most terrifying is not weakness, but the disappearance of borders. When rivers dry and mountains erode, the map loses its features. When the body abandons its contours, existence loses its foothold. This new atlas is not stabilized by geography, but dissolved by expectation. It redraws itself with every breath until nothing remains to be redrawn. The modern virtue of elasticity is therefore not survival, but rehearsal for disappearance. The demand is not to endure, but to vanish gracefully. We are taught to adore our own dissolution as if it were transcendence, to applaud the endless revision of our being as if it were growth. But growth presupposes ground. Revision presupposes something prior to be revised. What we now celebrate is not growth, but the slow exaltation of non-being. The enthronement of the draft over the finished form, the sovereignty of the undone over the done. One must say it without hesitation. The age does not want resilient beings, it wants vanishing beings. The praise of resilience is but the euphemism for an ontology that despises stability, a cosmos that worships evaporation. What is demanded is not that one survive, but that one survive only by disappearing. The last virtue left to us is to erase ourselves quickly enough to match the pace of expectation. But what, then, is left of freedom? Freedom once meant to stand against the tide, to affirm one's contours against dissolution. But the new freedom is obedience to mutation, the right to be commanded endlessly. The new liberation is the command to vanish on schedule. The age has betrayed us by teaching that transcendence lies in pliability. But pliability is not transcendence, it is annihilation disguised as light. To transcend is to break upward, to shatter boundaries by affirming them. Pliability breaks nothing, affirms nothing, it merely dissolves. The fortress may defy the storm and fall with dignity. The parchment dissolves into the rain without ever having existed. Therefore, I say, the greatest courage now is not to be elastic, but to resist elasticity. The highest rebellion is not to mutate ceaselessly, but to dare to remain in a world that worships disappearance. To endure in form is the only true revolution. To maintain the fortress of one's finitude, to preserve the contour of one's body, to affirm even the tiredness of flesh as flesh that is strength. Let the new maps erase themselves. Let the atlas tremble and dissolve. But let at least one territory remain unyielding, one fortress of self that refuses the tyranny of pliability. For only in that sacred refusal can existence reclaim its ground, its revolt, its body, and only then will we no longer inhabit drafts, but life itself.
To read the raw excerpt discussed in this video, along with a more detailed analysis, please visit our Substack page at https://substack.com/@AETHYRICPHRONTISTERY. Link in bio.